Open for the Easton Housing Authority Board of Commissioners meeting. It's Tuesday, October 13th, 2020. And I'm going to call the meeting to order at 5:02 p.m. And I'll roll call. Let's see, Chrisanne Sheedy.
Here.
Dennis Sheedy.
Here.
John Burrows.
Here.
Tom Tebow.
Here.
And Pam Whittaker. I would also like to have records show that Executive Director Kathy Steiger is also present, along with ECAT, who are on board recording the meeting. I don't show any other call-ins. The first item on the agenda is the minutes for June 9th regular meeting. May I have a motion?
Kathy, did you get my text on this? Because I'm pretty sure we approved these minutes at the last meeting.
I did not get your text on that. You can check into that.
I can check if you want me to.
I know it was on the agenda for the last meeting. I know I read them before, so I'm almost positive we approved these.
I know the other minutes weren't ready at this time because of the elections. The girl works at the town clerk's office in Randolph, so my apologies. I didn't realize we had already approved them. I should have looked at the last agenda.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Sheedy. So we will, agenda item number 1 is going to be tabled, canceled, postponed, canceled.
It's complete.
It's complete. Agenda item number 2, the September 2020 warrant approval in the amount of $199,422.40.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have we have a motion by Commissioner Tebow and a second by Commissioner Dennis Sheedy. For the September warrant approval in the amount of $199,422.40. We'll now open it for discussion or questions.
If I could, I have a question on page 5 of 8 of the second section, the revolving account, the second item down. I was, when I saw the dates, I just was curious as to.
Yeah, that's a computer software issue. I discussed this with Pam earlier. For whatever reason, this particular warrant had issues with the run. That's not the correct date. It would have been the August employer portion. I'll give you the exact date.
Should that item be adjusted before it's
Now,
approved?
what happens, typically the fee accountant comes in every month and he allocates all the bills to the appropriate accounts, because what I would determine a bill to be might not be the appropriate account, and he always reallocates everything. He's aware that this issue goes on. The date of that is actually for September 2020.
Right, it seems like your account number 4420 is all screwed up. Right, just keeps repeating over and over. I mean, you have an employee's deduction to our savings account going to materials and supplies.
Right. And, as you know, Dan will catch that. But when I do this, I assure you that's not what the account is that I put it to. And then again, I don't print a warrant until the end of the month, because that's when I need it for the board meeting. And I call them and they'll go in and make the appropriate adjustments, but this isn't the first time we've had this happen with us. It's happened a few times. They fix it, and then for whatever reason, whatever the software updates are, he'll say to me, oh, it reverted back, and I don't know, he can't explain why it does that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kathy, I noticed, an invoice for, I think it was McDonald Plumbing for, Simmons Valve at Chandler Way. Is that the same unit we might have received some correspondence on?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Commissioner Tebow, Commissioner Christianchi?
I'm all set, thanks.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, we'll proceed to the yes or no roll call vote. Commissioner Christiane Sheedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Dennis Sheedy,
Yes,
Commissioner Don Burrows,
Yes.
and Commissioner Tom Tebow.
Yeah,
Okay. And Chair Whittup votes yes, so that is unanimous. It's passed. Motion is passed. Agenda item number 2, the financial statements for August of 2020.
I have one question on these. I think we spoke about it the last meeting, Kathy. It seems as though under betterments and additions, there's a $348,000 expense. Is that a CIP capital improvement plan expense under 400?
I'm sorry, part of it is.
Part of it,
Dan still has to allocate all the funds correctly. When I talked to him about it, because some of the money was Affordable Housing Trust funds, some of it was the resale of the property, and the other was HILAP. He has to determine how to break it all out. It's an unusual situation, so we left it, even though it's all covered. Hopefully this month he'll be able to correct that and allocate it appropriately.
all right, I want the board members to know, it reads that we have a $235,000 deficit. And in reality, I think we have something like $123,000 in surplus. Does that sound about right, Kathy?
Yes, it does. 121 and change, I believe it is.
Okay, excellent.
Any further discussion on the item number 3, the financial statements for August of 2020?
I'll make a motion that we accept and put on file the accountant's compilation report from August 31st, 2020.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tebow and a second by Commissioner Christiane Sheedy to accept the compilation report for August 2020, to put it on file. Do a roll call vote. Commissioner Christiane Sheedy,
Yes, aye.
Commissioner Dennis Sheedy,
sorry, yes.
thank you. Commissioner Burrows
Yes.
and Commissioner Tebow.
Yes,
And Commissioner Widdop, yes, so it's unanimous to place the compilation report from the accountant for August 2020 on file. Agenda item number 4 is the certificate of final completion for fiche number 088068, the Federal Pacific Electric Panels replacement for Elise Circle.
I'll make a motion to approve the certificate of final completion for fish number 088068 in the amount of $3,325.22 for the Federal Pacific replacement at least circle.
I'll second that motion.
Sorry, Tom.
No, you're fine.
We have a motion, I have a motion from Commissioner Dennis Sheedy and a second by Commissioner Christian Sheedy to accept the certificate of final completion of fiche number 088068 Federal Pacific panels replacement on Elise Circle in the amount of $3,325.22. Do we have any discussion? No questions. Hearing none, I'm going to proceed to the vote. We'll call Christiane Sheedy. Commissioner
Yes.
Christiane. Commissioner Dennis Sheedy.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrows.
Yes.
And Commissioner Tebow, you look like you have maybe a question?
Nope. Yes.
Okay. I vote yes. Commissioner Widdop votes yes, so that is unanimous that we are accepting the final completion in the amount of $3,325.22 on the Federal Pacific Electric Panel replacement at Elise Circle, fiche number 088068. Agenda item number 5. I'm trying to rush things here, sorry. Agenda item number 5. Low bidder approval, fiche number 088071, the Elise Circle roof replacements.
I will make a motion that we approve the low bid for the Elise Circle roof replacement to Almar LLC in the amount of $147,900.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Christiane Sheedy and a second by Commissioner Dennis Sheedy to accept the low bid for the Elise Circle replacements in the amount of $147,900. Is there any discussion?
Was this what was estimated for these roofs? Was this about right, Kathy, in terms of?
Yeah, it was about correct because we had done it, we'd done the roof a year and a half ago, so it's pretty close. I can get the exact dollar amount. Would you like that? What we had estimated it?
I just was seeing that, the prices were of course all over the place. And then,
Yeah,
you know how many references they actually did find? Because he's saying that offices were closed. He did get a hold of, well, those who did respond were favorable. It just seemed like it was such a discrepancy on cost, but I was just curious.
the high ones are very interesting because it's a pretty straight cut and dry roof situation. There's not a lot of peaks and whatnot. It should be pretty simple. And upon approval, we're trying to push this one along so that we can hopefully get them all done before the snow.
Oh, good luck with that.
I'm trying. I was emailing them all today to make sure that we can try to move this along. I'm trying to, put up the NTP for the beginning of next week with any luck, and, it's just a matter of DHCD approving everything and pushing it through.
So he didn't say if Almar had done any housing authorities?
I didn't ask him. I haven't spoken with him.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Kathy, do you remember what the award was from the CPC?
I can get that for you, Dennis, 1 minute. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I just saw it last week, but I don't.
Yeah, it is, 225, 315.
So you have 147,900 plus, did I see, in the warrant, the architect was like 19,000 something?
Yes, and then it will have wiggle room, excuse me, if this change orders have come about, as you know. The gutters up there are new. Those were recently done, and then the downspouts were recently replaced when we did the ramp walkway job up there because of the drainage issues. So there shouldn't be any change orders as far as gutters and whatnot goes, but you never know what you're gonna find. The roofs are pretty deteriorated. Whether any repairs underneath need to be done, we won't know until they dig into it.
Could you reach out to, Wayne Bitler and just let him know the status of where you are on what the bid amount is and the architect? Last week's meeting, it did come out, for projects that, money is being set aside for, they're just looking for updates, that's all.
I did update him. I spoke to him the week before last, I believe, and let him know that we had a little bidder and it was just upon board approval.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the vote to accept the low bidder, Almar LLC, in the amount of $147,900 for fiche number 088071, Elise roof replacement. Roll call vote, Commissioner Chrisanne Sheedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Dennis Sheedy,
Yes,
Commissioner Don Burrows,
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Tebow,
Yes,
and Commissioner Widdop, yes. So it is unanimous, the approval of the low bidder Almar LLC on the roof replacement at Elise Circle in the amount of $147,900. The next item on the agenda, item number 6, is a request from the executive director to approve the write-off list, which totals $27,442.23, the items which were detailed on her letter.
I'll make a motion to approve the write-offs for $27,442.23.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dennis Sheedy and a second by Commissioner Don Burrows to approve the write-off list submitted by Executive Director Kathy Steiger in the amount of $27,442.23. A roll call vote, Commissioner Chrisanne Sheedy.
I do have a couple of questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I skipped over the questions. Much-
Kathy, it says, first off, are these people all vacated? Have they left?
Yes.
And it says over 24 months.
Mhm.
So usually we write these off every year, don't we?
We do, we did not last year.
Okay, I just recommend that we do that. It might catch up with us on our AUP because they do a percentage of, non-collectibles. I don't know how they'd look at this, but, just, and I see one of them makes up almost half of it, so.
Yes.
All right, no, that's all I had for questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Tebow. I apologize for that.
No problem.
Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, I will proceed for the vote now. Commissioner Chrisanne Sheedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Dennis Sheedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrows,
Yes.
and Commissioner Tebow,
Yes,
and Commissioner Widdop. Yes, the vote is unanimous to approve the write-off list in the amount of $27,442.23. Agenda item number 7, proposed revision to the personnel policy / office hours.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposed revision of the personnel policy as written.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dennis Sheedy and a second by Commissioner Don Burrows to approve the proposed revision to the personnel policy / office hours submitted to us by Executive Director Steiger. Is there any discussion on this?
I have a couple of questions. What, Kathy, in the memo, I'm not exactly sure what you're proposing here. Could you just summarize it for me?
Typically, the office has always been open Monday through Friday from 8 to 4. Maintenance works from 7 to 3:30. I'm sorry, 8:30 to 4 would have been the office. We're changing the office hours from 8 to 4 Monday through Thursday and 8 to 1 on Friday with no lunch hour on Friday since they leave at 1. Maintenance would be from 7 to 1 on Friday. And Monday through Thursday, they're from 7 to 4, when they used to be 3:30.
Now, what's the reason for this change? How is this going to better serve the authority?
Well, quite honestly, on Fridays, it's very quiet in the afternoon. And I thought it would be nice for the staff. I know we do it during the summer and it seems to work out well. Obviously, we have on-call all the time, so maintenance is always on call and reachable. But I know that the town offices close early on Friday as well, different format, but they do. And where our population is mostly elderly, we don't really need any night hours. And if we did for one of our family tenants, I would arrange that, absolutely.
All right, it's still, so on Fridays, everybody's leaving at 1?
Yes,
And when did we used to leave?
4,
At 4.
but maintenance would leave at 3:30.
They would leave at 3:30, the office would leave at 4.
Mhm. We've been doing it for a few years for the summer, and I don't think it has proposed any problems or issues with anybody, not that I'm
On
aware of.
call? Has it increased on-call hours at all?
No. I can't think of any occasions where one of the guys had to come back on a Friday.
All right, those are my questions.
Any other questions? Commissioner
I just
Sheedy?
want to make sure, actually, I have one more, because when I read this, what is it gonna, so at the second part of this memo where it says, I am proposing the revision to page 5 under E, hours of operation, the administrative office, then it says amended 2010. Is that what you're proposing?
That's what it was, the changes to that.
So what language are we approving?
You're approving the above language. I'm proposing the vote on a revision to the personnel policy for the office hours to be from Monday through Thursday from 8 until 4, and Fridays from 8 to 1, and the maintenance hours from 7 until 4, Monday through Thursday, and 7 to 1 on Friday. That would be the change.
So you're
Below
gonna
is
have to
just-
take that language up there and revise the language downstairs to reflect that,
Correct.
right?
Yes, yes. That's the current language that I put down there for your reference that was approved prior. Sorry for the confusion on that.
Does it talk about lunches up top?
No,
No.
needs to add the lunches in there.
Well, I would keep the lunches in there. I'd just change the hours with the everything would remain the same except for the hours and the Friday having no lunch.
So working 7 to 1 without a lunch.
Correct. But they have a break in the morning. And truth be
Alright.
told, you know, they don't, nobody really takes a lunch. I know we can't implement that, but I'm just letting the board know, staff typically is here working anyhow and eat their lunch at the desk. Maintenance will take a lunch out, you know, they'll take a break in the garage.
Sure. No, it was just, I was, when I read it several times and I was unclear exactly what it was saying and how it was, working out for the hours. And I don't, it's, you know, we should be doing things like this for the benefit of the operations and, you know, so that it works out that we deliver services to our residents best. But again, reading through it, it wasn't clear what we were approving.
Well, we are open to the office earlier at 8 o'clock in the morning, and that, you know, a lot of our residents are up and moving around pretty early in the morning anyhow. So, I mean,
Sure.
that is a benefit that way.
All right. If everybody's clear, I'm fine now. I'm clear.
Commissioner Chris Ann Sheedy, did you mention that you thought there should be something added in there, or are we reluctant to put that in, the issue of lunches?
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't actually state that, because I don't know if that's anything that could be used against us. Or.
Well, I think it has to. I mean, if we're paying them 40 hours, they have to work 40 hours, right? So if it's 7 to 1, I don't know what the law on it, I think it's 6 hours, they have to get some kind of half-hour break, but if they get the 2 15-minute breaks, maybe that qualifies for it. 7 to 1 is 6 hours? Is that what they're working? I'm sorry, my math, 6 hours, yeah.
Yes.
6 hours, yes. They have different hours than admin staff.
Right, but I do think it needs to be clear that it's 7 to 1 without a lunch break. It has to say,
Yes,
without, you know, 7 to 1. Again, I don't know what the law says on this. I know my son works for a grocery store and they really chop up his hours so they don't have to give him his lunch break.
I think a lot of that has to do with unions. I don't think they're actually, because I was always under the understanding you had to give 15-minute breaks, and by the law, you do not.
No, it's not the 50, it's the half hour. If you go so long, you have to give them some kind of, it doesn't have to be paid, you just have to give them some kind of break. And I don't know what it is. But again, if it doesn't stand muster, we shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
If on the hours of 8 to 4 and 7 to 4, it doesn't change their weekly hour of 37 for the office, of 35 for the office and 40 for the maintenance staff. Do I understand that correctly?
It does change it, because the office didn't come in till 8:30, so now they're in at 8. Maintenance staff left at 3:30, but now they're here till 4.
No, I
So
think the
that-
question was total hours, work week, so admin's working 35, maintenance is working 40,
Correct.
and that hasn't changed at all.
Correct. Yes, that did not change. Mhm.
So it's the half-hour lunch for the full day is understood.
It's always been that way here. Well, it was changed back in, I guess the office used to get an hour for lunch, a half hour paid and a half hour unpaid, and then it got switched back in 2010.
Is there any further questions or discussions, Commissioner Burrows or Commissioner Dennis Sheedy?
No, I'm all set.
Yeah, I'm set.
Commissioner Tebow, any further
No, I'm all
comments?
set. Nope, thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, we'll proceed to the vote to approve the proposed revision to the personnel policy office hours as submitted by Executive Director Steiger. Shall I go into detail? Do I need to go into detail here?
We don't really have the language to approve. That's where it's, I would like to see the language, even if we approve it tonight, to see how it's gonna be in the personnel policy, because we don't have the actual language to approve.
I
Right.
believe, well, I believe what I see here, because I wrestled with this for quite a while myself, Tom, believe me. And I had a bad experience at a former employer where we had a surprise audit on our hours and got called out on half-hour lunch breaks. So I read this carefully. And I'm assuming, and I shouldn't assume, the first paragraph says, I am proposing that you vote probably should say to approve a revision to the personnel policy to change the office hours of the Easton Housing Authority to Monday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Fridays from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and the maintenance hours from 7 a.m. until 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 7 a.m. through 1 p.m. on Fridays. Would you consider that an acceptable language, Tom, or do you want,
I understand what the proposal is now. I would like to see how you absorb that into the plan, even just for our reference next week, next month, how it is actually written. That's how I think something like this should be proposed, Kathy. It should be what is going to go into the personnel policy exactly. Because oftentimes, and I've been through this many times when we're discussing this, and I do work with unions, that we're discussing what a certain word means, or it gets very particular. There's different interpretations. So I do understand what you're saying. I'm comfortable to vote in favor of it. I just want to see exactly how it's written up in the policy, because we're approving a concept or hours that have to be absorbed into the policy.
Actually, and I just was thinking, do we have to make any reference to part-time employees? How their hours would be, you know,
Well, their hours are 18 hours a week. So there's no benefits to the part-time employees.
all right, so you might just want to reference part-time employees or, you know, as agreed upon at point of hire or something to that effect.
Good. Yeah.
Except from this policy.
It's probably addressed somewhere else in the personnel policy, right?
No, they're not. They
They're
never
not
have.
addressed anywhere? Okay.
that
But
they're
again,
exempt.
I just want to see how it's written up in the personnel policy.
we did agree we're gonna add some reference to lunch, so that that's clear one way or the other, or
Well, the
Right, so-
reference- Sorry, go ahead, sorry.
If you read the maintenance department, the way it reads right now, the regular work week for the maintenance staff shall consist of 40 hours per week. We know that, from 7 AM to 3:30 PM. It's a shall, with 1/2 hour uncompensated lunch period. And we're getting rid of that for one day. The staff shall be entitled to 2 coffee breaks per day, on in the morning. It seems like there's an extra word there, and one in,
one in the
one.
morning.
okay, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, for a 15-minute period. So the language up on top has to be absorbed, put into this context, and it has to be clear that there isn't a half-hour unpaid lunch on Friday. It just, the language, I'm used to seeing these kind of changes come through in the very specific language. This is what we're approving in the personnel policy. You know, oftentimes, Kathy, would be red line, where you red line out what they're using, like the word, track changes. You red line out what the old stuff is, you input the new. I don't know if you have it in, Word, it might be in PDF only.
Yeah. I mean, the verbiage would stay the same, except the hours would change, and I would say, it would say your regular work week would be Monday through Thursday at those hours, and then I would go Friday, the hours would be with no lunch break.
Right, no, I understand that now. Again, I'm willing to vote now, but I would ask just that you bring back the specific language that you hand to the employees. I mean, everything might be nice and friendly right now with your employees, but that's not always the case.
Right.
And we want to make sure that, just like any relationship, that when things aren't bad, that we're very clear on what the expectations are. So when they do turn, so that when they're not so friendly, that we're all working under the same understanding.
Okay.
So you did read off the hours, Madam Chairwoman.
Yes, I did. And I have to say, I agree with Tom. I am accustomed myself to seeing it. This is how it was, and this is how it's going to be. And that would be what goes in the file, you know, once it's approved. And so I just want to say that I do agree with Tom, to maybe take this top paragraph and split it between administrative office and maintenance department and put it below them, saying this is what it was, as you have it on the bottom here, and then take the wording from the top paragraph and split it into the two. And this is what it will be on a
Right, the next
document.
meeting, you just want the actual verbiage. You don't need it split out. You just want the actual verbiage, how it's gonna look, present in the personnel policy. Or do you want me to break it all out
Yes.
again? Yes. I'm not, which way?
Yeah, break it out again for the technical way to look in the personnel policy. So exactly these two paragraphs that are here now with administrative office versus maintenance department, and then just clarify that these are the office, these are the hours, and this is an uncompensated lunch.
So,
And then they want to see it old and new. They want to see the old paragraph versus the new paragraph.
okay.
If you have the ability to redline, do redline.
So I suppose the motion, we received a motion by Commissioner Dennis Sheedy and a second by Commissioner Don Burrows. And I'm not sure if this is an amendment to the motion. We're going to vote to approve these revisions with the stipulation. We're going to vote to approve or not approve these proposed revisions to the personnel policy office hours with the stipulation that the detail is more specific as to what it was, which we already have in our letter, and what it will be, the actual wording. Does that motion sound correct to the board?
Sounds good. It sounds perfect to me.
Thank
So it's
you.
approved with the stipulation, Kathy, that you'll bring it back showing us exactly what it will read.
Yes.
That makes perfect sense to me, Commissioner.
So is there any further conversation or discussion on this agenda item number 7? Okay, we'll proceed for a vote with roll call. Commissioner Christiane Sheedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Dennis Sheedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Don Burrows,
Yes.
and Commissioner Tebow.
Yes.
And Commissioner Widdop, I approve as stated with the stipulation, so it is unanimous. These proposed revisions to the personnel policy office hours with the stipulation. Agenda item number 8, proposed revision to the admin plan for section 8 minimum rent establishment.
I make
Kathy,
a
what
to,
change are we approving?
Excuse me?
What change are we approving? What was it before?
0.
Okay. I'm sorry, Commissioner Sheedy.
Commissioner Dennis, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed revision to the administration plan for section 8 interim reexaminations. Reporting required by participant.
We'll second the motion.
Kathy, you want to tell us about this? Oh, sorry.
That's quite, thank you.
We have a few tenants that are at 0 rent, and we always have to have them fill out these 0 income forms, and it just seems logical. And in most housing authorities that I talk to, there is a minimum $50 rent. It just relieves some of the administrative burden of constantly trying to get the who's paying for what and 0 income forms from some of the residents.
So how often would you have to, if they're paying, so the $50 would be the new 0, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
How often would you have to re-examine them? Is that quarterly or every
On the-
3 months? Have to deal on
Well,
that?
the follow-up is kind of the next document. On number 8, right now, we're not doing, they don't do interim for increases in rent either in the admin plan when we've gone through it. So that would follow up on that the burden would be on the voucher holder to report income changes.
So they've never had to report income? Never had to do an interim before?
Nope, not according to the admin plan. So if somebody
Wow.
was making $20,000 a year and they were just recertified and then they get a new job a month later making $70,000 a year, that income wasn't included until the following year. They didn't have to report interim changes. The two actually go together.
So the interim changes, I understand both ways, actually, Kathy. I understand that Commissioner Sheedy's thought on it also, but I understand how it goes both ways. But on the 0 income, the reason we ask for that quarterly, whatever it is, update is usually because we're saying that you can't live for very long without any income.
Correct.
And that's what that paperwork is about. How will the $50, will they just pay the 50 and let's say they're getting a bunch of income, they're just we don't ask about it? Is that how it works? I'm not sure on that.
Well, no, we run the EIVs on them, so even if they, quarterly, we run EIV. So if a tenant is not declaring income and we run EIV, we're gonna see that there was income. Of course, anything, as you know, given to them by a family member, cash, not on bank statements, we're not gonna be able to follow anyhow. We
Right.
don't have too many, but there's a couple that, get a zero income.
Can you just let them know what EIV stands for?
Earned income verification, it's, it's a system with the federal government, if you will, that reports income that is actually reported by an employer on taxes, so that we have access to that information. And that's only
Like-
on the federal side.
Right. You have wage match on the other side, right?
Yeah, not the same.
If I could just speak frankly on this, the zero income issue is, if a person figures out how to get away with doing zero income and there's not consequences to it, and they share it with their friends, who share it with their friends, who share it with their friends, it becomes an issue. And I've lived through that, where it got rolling and rolling and rolling, and everybody figured out how to get around it, and we had to spend a lot of time getting back to where we needed to be to have fair. So you said you don't have a lot of them, that's good. I just make sure that you keep an eye on it.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So when is this effective for?
It would be for January 1st, and we would notify all residents as well.
And was this the recommendation of like Jamie Berriman, or is this coming?
Yeah, we've been going through the plan at length, and these are some things I thought that was probably beneficial for us to change.
And so HUD's never picked up on or made any recommendations in either.
No,
Their recommendation is between 0 and 50. They
Right.
say you can have it anywhere, so that's completely our discretion.
Should we take agenda item number 8 and 9 collectively, or should we keep them separate in our motion?
Now, a motion's been made on number 8, so I'd say we take the vote and go.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on agenda item number 8? Which is the proposed revision to the admin plan for section 8 minimum rent established currently at 0, changing it to $50 a month to be effective January 1st, 2021. I'll do a roll vote. Commissioner Chris Ann Sheedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Dennis Sheedy,
Yes.
You're muted. Okay.
Commissioner Burrows,
Yes.
Commissioner Tebow,
Yes?
and Commissioner Widdop. I vote yes, so it is unanimous. Agenda item number 9, the proposed revisions to the admin plan for section 8 interim reexaminations reporting required by the participant.
I'll make a motion to adopt the language that the Easton Housing Authority will conduct interim reexaminations to account for any changes in household composition that occur between the annual reexamination.
Second.
And this is also effective for January?
correct.
And do you feel like you have enough personnel on staff to, address these if you do start to get enough of them?
Oh, yeah. yeah, we'll do a general letter and stuff, yeah, absolutely. We only have currently 93 vouchers out there, so it shouldn't take us too long to do that.
Well, it's only going up, right? You had to go down anyways. If they lost their income, you had to go down.
Correct, yes,
This is only people getting raises.
correct.
Are there any further questions on the agenda item number 9, the revision to the admin plan for section 8 reexaminations? Language. Okay, hearing none, we had a motion by Commissioner Tom Tebow and a second by Commissioner Dennis Sheedy to accept the language for the interim examinations revision for the section 8 plan. Commissioner Chrisanne Sheedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Dennis Sheedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Don Burrows,
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Tebow,
Yes.
and Commissioner Widdop. I vote yes, so it's unanimous. Agenda item number 10, proposed revision to the admin plan for section 8 revisions to metro area fair market rents to small area fair market rents. I understand that this will be changing the fair market rent for our local housing authority.
Yes, but I'm asking the board for approval to request this from HUD. We can't change it. All I can do is approach HUD currently and ask them if they will approve this, but I need the board's permission to go forward to approve this. The small area FMRs are higher than what we currently have, and it is difficult for people to find housing in Easton due to that. The rents are pretty high in Easton, so just make it a little more affordable for a resident to live in this community that way.
I have one question, Kathy. I do agree that we should have the ability to allow people to, live in places where, we don't want people to have to go to just one neighborhood or to one area. How do you think this will affect our ability to lease up as far as the numbers? Are we going to have to reduce the number of vouchers we have if we have a number of people who lease up using the small area?
No, I don't believe that we will. The reserves HAP reserves right now are slated at the moment to be at about 72,000 at the end of the year. I don't think it will affect it very much, quite honestly. There's not a lot of apartment or home rentals in Easton. We currently have 9 voucher holders in town. What really prompted this whole situation, we have one voucher holder in Easton that is accusing us of segregating her from the Easton housing market based on our based on our fair market rents. This has snowballed into a big issue with HUD, and this just shows that we're trying. There's not much we could do to make it any better for this resident, and so I think HUD got a little nervous with that. And the rental market in town is just extraordinarily high. This might help, and again, it might not be able to help tenants even get into this market, but at least we're trying to.
Mhm. Who do you use for rent reasonableness? Do you use
Go section 8?
Go Section 8? Okay.
Yeah,
So you're looking for a motion to allow you to apply for a small area fair market rents and for 02375 and 02356?
yes, sir.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Tom Tebow and a second by Commissioner Chrisanne Sheedy to, for the executive director to approach HUD for a change to the fair market rents. Is there any further discussion?
I'm just curious, how long has small area FMRs been available?
That I'm not sure of. Tom might know better than I on that.
Yeah, it's a little over a year.
Oh, so it's very new.
It's very new, yes.
That was
And
that lawsuit with Cambridge and everything. Was that what that was about?
Yes,
Partly? Yeah.
yes. And it's all about deconcentration of poverty. If you don't have something like this, everybody has to live in the poorest neighborhood in the poorest city. That's what it's about. So
So
it
the
makes,
majority, sorry. So I was just wondering, are the majority of housing authorities starting to adopt these that have the voucher programs?
in more affluent communities. So Brockton would not need to do this.
Yeah, if you ask me, it's long overdue.
Is there any further discussion on this agenda item number 10? Hearing none, we'll proceed for the vote to approve the motion as detailed by Commissioner Tom Tebow. Thank you. Commissioner Chrissy Sheedy,
Yes,
Commissioner Dennis Sheedy,
Yes,
Commissioner Don Burrows,
Yes,
Commissioner Tom Tebow,
Yes.
and Commissioner Whittup. I vote yes, so it's unanimous. And agenda item number 11, the executive director's report and updates.
I'm happy to report number 88 Elise will be leased on Thursday.
Can I ask a question, Kathy, about, you have here that you pulled 4 lists, was it, or 3 lists? 4 lists. But there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units ready. Have you, so some of them you haven't even pulled lists for yet?
Correct, because we don't have the manpower to do all that and still operate the office. We're pulling lists of 30 to 40 people at a time. You know what type of paperwork that involves and entails. Dawn is actually pulling more lists this week because we've gone through some of the lists. And it's hard to track them. We're not a big enough office to track all those lists at the same time. The whole CHAMP system is such a hindrance on this. The manpower, the paperwork, the postage, the tracking, it's really difficult.
Yeah, I do understand that. I think we should think about at least some temporary help. I went through the report you had on the back there, and it looks like we're averaging for the year well over 10 vacancies when I counted them up. And this looks like it's just for the 667 program. You know, there
Yes.
was 14, 11, 10, 11, 11. We never got below 10 vacancies. So it's really going to, I understand it's a problem, and we got to figure out a way to get better. Mass Narrow is doing a pilot right now. I think, Chris, you're involved in that, correct?
yep.
They're cleaning up the list so you don't have to pull 40 or 50 or 60. Were you involved in a meeting on that, Chris, yesterday? The day?
There was a meeting on Friday for the pilot authorities that are working with the Mass Narrow initiative, and the board meeting today, we were told or discussed the fact that it's about ready to be rolled out to beyond the pilot. So I think you're going to see that in the next couple, I think 2 months, that Mass Narrow is going to put the offer out there to any authority to participate, and they'll have the fee that will be affiliated with it. But they are working through lists. They are doing a lot of this ground, this grunt work basically is what it ends up being, and it's definitely a help. It's just a matter of getting used to that, what they're doing versus what you typically do versus, kind of understanding the process, how it changes once again, but I don't know. Sometimes if you're looking to pull in a temp at this point, by the time you get a temp up and running with the whole thing, you might be better off just waiting to join into the Mass Narrow function.
All right, I just, I wanted actually to put that out there for the board because I think that's a board issue. It's something that Kathy is not, the Easton Housing Authority is not unique in this situation whatsoever. Housing authorities across the state are struggling with keeping this up, and it looks like at one point you got behind, whether you got bombarded at one time, and to try to catch up is, very, very difficult under this new system. 2 years old now, right? The pilot started in September of 18. And so we just keep an eye on it because obviously there is a housing crisis in the state, in the country, and we have a bunch of vacancies. So whatever we can do and whatever, and I threw out that, I know onboarding someone is not easy. Extra hours for Dawn, I don't know that, you could do extra hours forever. And eventually you lose that person. So whatever, I just, whatever you need for support, I'm sure something's gonna be coming to this board at some time about that, whether it's joining Mass Narrow or you have other ideas, Kathy.
I was actually, I'd been counting on the Mass Narrow due to COVID. Obviously, it didn't happen as quickly as we had hoped. And then due to COVID, we also fell behind with the vacancies because we weren't leasing. We didn't start leasing back up till July, and those lists are just so burdensome. I know she even pulled a list for Eisenhower Drive and sent out 30 of them, not one response,
Yeah.
none. We're pulling
Yeah.
another list for Eisenhower, which isn't on here, because Eisenhower isn't on the books until we deletted, but we started the screening because we know it's taking so long to do the screening.
Right. No, I understand the issue completely.
Yeah.
But again, I do want to make sure that the public knows that you're doing everything you can, because at some time, it's happened before, right? Problem caused by others become our problem, and what have you done about that problem?
Absolutely.
And the other thing at some point in time is that the board's gonna have to probably take some sort of a stance to approach legislators about the fact that this champ system is totally putting any local person, like, completely out of the realm of ever getting housing in the town of Easton. So I've said repeatedly that commissioners and legislators, we've got to come together and we've got to approach this and get some changes in the works, because nobody in their local town has got a chance of getting housed, ever.
I agree 100% with you. Some kind of super preference for a local person. 3-to-1
Some sort of
ratio.
Skewed process, you got an emergency, then you do a veteran, then you do a local. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I mean, it needs to be simplified. This whole program and process is it's archaic.
Mhm. Well, before, in the past, I mean, like I've said before, Dawn was walking in the door with the new tenant while maintenance was going out the back door. The screening was down to that much of a science, and they were all on the same page. And now it's crazy to try to do that. And our purpose is to house people, and it's hindering that for certain.
Most housing authorities had just that. You always had people waiting for a vacant. It was the maintenance, tell the maintenance, get going because we got a person ready to go. At some time, they're going to start giving us vacancy penalties, right? Are they granting waivers to you?
Yes, they are. There, as long as we can display the pulled lists, which they can pull on their own, they can see what lists we've pulled, but they want it in writing, so we have to ask for the waivers in writing with the pulled list, and they've been approving them.
Okay.
Rumor has it that Champ is now going to get reviewed a little more, or there's gonna be standards with the PMR, and it's coming faster than they had said previously, and yeah, we just took a vote on that today too, that we're going to put a letter together telling DHCD that, you know, they have no right in doing this at this point in time to housing authorities.
Right.
That they're, you know, gonna start judging us on our use of CHAMP, and then we're gonna have findings potentially on our PMR.
That's
So this is
exactly why I,
hang us.
right, that's exactly why I wanted to have this discussion. I know I said in public, this is a public meeting. I wish it was more public, because at some time, we're going to get a PMR report or an AUP report that says we're deficient. And that we have to start pushing back now, actually yesterday. So,
So what is going on with Eisenhower's de-letting?
Well, there was, funding from DHCD to do that, but they took a look at the reserves and decided that we had enough reserves to do it ourselves, but what they didn't take into account is some of those reserves are slated for the septic and paving job down at Chandler Way, which I don't think that they remembered. We have to use, I believe, almost 90,000 of our reserve for that. So I am trying to put together a revision. I'm meeting with Greg from RCAT Thursday morning. And well, he's actually doing this, but on the same token, we want some of the efficiency money to do this. We shouldn't have to use our reserves for this project, for the de-letting, because there is money available for that through DHCD. So we're still working on that. But we have a designer in mind, and we're gonna try to push through and just get this done. It shouldn't take very long. It's all a matter of the red tape and the paperwork.
So it hasn't even been designed yet.
No, we had a guy come out, he knows, he read the reports from the de-letting report and knows exactly what needs to be done. He just has to put it together. He's told us, he now has to put it together and we can go forward. And Greg Caswell from the RCATs is walking through this with me on that.
And what's the proposed cost?
I believe under 25,000. That
And so
includes
who at DHCD said that we should take it out of our reserve?
Cindy Zabriskie.
And how does she get to make that call?
I don't even know. This just happened Thursday afternoon. I wasn't in Friday. So I was talking to Greg about it today. I sent him the emails telling us that we had to use some of our reserves, which we knew, for Chandler Way and the septic that's failing down there. And we're working on the capital plan right now too. So, because the Chandler Way project was supposed to just be a paving project, and then it was determined that the septic was failing, and it seemed futile to do the paving when we would have to do the septic and tear up the paving, so we're trying to combine it. So they're giving us some money towards that, but I do have to use some of the reserves, but we knew that going into that project.
I thought there was a compliance fund specifically for de-letting.
That's what I'm talking about, yes. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know why Cindy Zabriskie gets to make that call.
I'm working on that.
Good luck.
keep pushing, keep pushing.
I tried.
You want a letter from us saying, no, we're not spending our reserves on that? Get your money out of your compliance fund and do it quickly?
I don't know. I'll be honest, I haven't done that before. I think if I talk
I'm
to
just
Jack,
really tired of them. They're
Mhm.
dictating this, and we've got a unit sitting there vacant, and it's taking forever, and it's forever. This is ridiculous.
right, I agree.
And they're just playing their usual game.
Mhm. When they told me in the beginning that we'd be able to use the compliance reserve funds to pay for this.
Did
And
they
then
put
this,
that in writing? Was that on an email that we have?
I would have to look back. It might have been Paul McPartlin that told me that. Not 100% sure on that.
How will you notify Kathy about the having to use reserves? By an email from Cindy?
Yes, no, Jackie Montero, our rep, forwarded me an email that Cindy had sent to her. And that just
I
came
would
through.
I would start informally and saying, oh, I think, that does not, take into account that we're going to be using these reserves for the, septic tank. So we need these, what did you call them? De-letting funds for the.
Compliance reserve,
Compliance.
yeah.
Compliance, yes.
Yeah, I had this happen a couple times and just a real quick, email back saying, hey, you forgot we were using that money somewhere else has made them say, oh, sorry about that.
Yes. I actually forwarded everything to Greg today, and like I said, we're gonna work on that on Thursday. And that was part of my discussion, because I have it all laid out, and I showed him the email from Cindy telling us we had to use part of our reserves before for the septic, at Chandler Way.
Right, okay.
So I will definitely address that.
And then if they don't, if they say absolutely not, then we can as a board vote to, you know.
Okay.
But that will take even more work because you have to put everything together, you know, the whole
I'm
plan.
hoping that if I approach it nicely, she'll see that we need the compliance reserve to do this.
Right. I've been told to use the same $90,000 in Abington 4 different ways. I think Dennis knows that, you know. So you've already told me to use it over here, over here, over here, over here. And I just point out that they've done that and they,
Yes.
oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, shouldn't that be in Cap Hub?
Oh, no, no.
Oh.
Don't get me going. All right, I already am.
I do like Cap Hub. I like Cap Hub. Everything's right there. It's nice and clean. You can find it.
Except
I don't mind Cap Hub.
unless you got reserves that are being allocated to projects. Where's that?
That's the problem.
So part of my issue is that, yes, that'd be great. We'll approach Cindy and say, by the way, yada, yada, yada. But it's just, here we go. It's another week and day delay.
Right. I know.
It's just ridiculous.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Kathy, could you
Yeah.
speak to the Elise Community Room renovation? Could you speak to the status of that, please?
We're working on getting a designer. We're trying to find a designer to come out so that we can move forward on that. He has to come out and give us ideas of what we can and can't do, and basically the costs of that. So we're gonna try to do a handicap bathroom up there, because one doesn't exist now, so it would be a unisex bathroom. We're gonna try to add another washer and dryer, because the hookups are already there, and put in a new kitchen and possibly a roof and a small generator, because I know there were concerns that there was not a generator up there before. So we're trying to fit all that in with design fees into that 75,000. So we are currently working on that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm beginning to believe that the wheel turns awful slow here and the new process. So any time frame on that at all? Could you speak to that? Can we speed
Welcome
the
to the
wheel
board,
up?
Don. Welcome to the board.
Can't give you a time frame till I get a designer in, and I don't have a designer yet. The designers they're all overwhelmed with work as well. And everything has to go through design, Dawn. Whether you need it or not, it's gotta go through design.
So it's a bumpy road.
Yes. And
Thank
it took
you.
us a long time to get those funds. I know it was over a year ago that residents were notified that these funds were available. When they weren't, we just received the funds after me begging for them and writing letters in July. So we couldn't have planned anything prior to that money coming in.
So you're looking for a house doctor for design, correct?
Yes. We already talked to, Randy Jarvis, and he's trying to get away from that type of design. So I think we're gonna look at Joe Booth's company and see if they have any availability to come out and look at it.
Thanks
If
again.
I can, just Commissioner Burrows, just on the system with the state, you award the funds and then you have to do some paperwork to actually get the funds. That can take quite some time. And then you get a designer for even small jobs. That can take quite some time. Then there's usually arguments between DHCD and the designer, and that can take months and months and months. Usually the designer is often designing it too big, too expensive, and DHCD wants it too small and too cheap. And it goes back and forth. So it's a very they did make sort of a joke, but it's very, very frustrating. And for someone like Kathy and Dawn and the maintenance men who have to look at the residents every day and say, yeah, we're working on it, it becomes extremely frustrating. For someone like Dawn who does the tenant selection, if she has someone ready for Eisenhower Drive, it becomes very frustrating. This happens on a regular basis, and so that's why you hear at times the board members kind of suspicious of the activities of DHCD, because it does make the local work so difficult.
Thank you.
They
for
have
the
their
update.
own, they have their own agenda.
Thank you.
And Tom puts it very diplomatically.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. Much smoother than I could have done or would have done.
Way much smoother than me.
Absolutely, ditto.
Are there any more questions on the executive director's report? Okay, we'll move on to the final agenda item, which is questions or comments in general. Hearing none, I would like to schedule the next meeting for Tuesday, November 10th, 2020 at 5 p.m. How does that work for everyone?
The 11th is a holiday.
Correct.
That's-
I will, it doesn't matter, I will not be available that week.
Shall we move it to the next week?
You don't need to if it works for the other 4 board members, but that's fine with me.
Is November 10th all right with you, Commissioners Chrissy and Sheedy?
I was just looking at my calendar. Hold on. Yeah, it should be fine.
Commissioner Dennis Sheedy,
Yeah, it's fine with me.
you weren't going to go away for the holiday?
Yeah, I wish.
Commissioner Burrows?
Yeah, I'm all set with that. Yeah.
Okay. And that date is fine with me. So we will schedule our next meeting for Tuesday, November 10th at 5 p.m. And
I will make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
was that Dennis Sheedy seconding?
Yep.
Was that? I have a motion by Commissioner Chrissy Sheedy and a second by Commissioner Dennis Sheedy to adjourn. All those in favor? Chrissy Ann? Yes.
Aye.
Dennis, yes. Don
Yes.
Burrows?
Aye, yes.
Tom Tebow?
Yes.
And myself. It's unanimous. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.